Cool, buddy. So before we get into the studio, I want to take a look at some of the patterns which I've observed in your music. I think it could really help people to learn to listen and look at some of the things which you do on a sort of habitual basis. One thing I notice that you do a lot is what I call sort of melody continuation. It's when you get a really strong melodic theme, and instead of sort of the next section changing to something else, you'll keep the melody going, but in different format, different synths.
Yeah, like bits and pieces of it. I would make a melody and then use create a stab maybe out of just a part of this melody, and then I would create some interesting sounds with reverb or a delay, and so I'm building for that melody, and then when the melody comes, everything kind of makes sense,
Yeah.
And as also for the outro, as it continues the track, I also will use for the end of the melody or other parts, so that everything is contextual somehow.
Yeah, you do so much work to get that amazing melody for the track, and then why stop there? It's like you can use that melody in different bits and pieces throughout the track. So I noticed this when I was listening to your solo album. So let's hear an example. For instance, the track Supernova.
Supernova, yeah.
Okay.
The bits and pieces, the stabs, is also parts of the melody, but with one with beat crush and reverb, another one with just a filter. That's why kind of everything starts to make sense. And the big sound with the comb lead, it's also from the same source, but just with the comb filter. And as I have this theory, which I like to create a melody with the small little sounds, as if every note will be a different sound, a different color, So and then in the end you have actually a melody, but it's made out of small little sounds,
Sure, like a rainbow compressed together or something.
All the colors, everything just flashing, and making,
Yeah. I also feel like it really gives a sense of evolution to your track. It's not like you get to 16 bars, like, okay, forget that, like start something new. It's like the sort of character of the sound kind of, I felt like it started very clean and then it became a lot more digital, and by the end it was just kind of a glitchy robot version of the same melody.
The same melody,
yeah. Because I know a lot of folks sort of get to a point, maybe the end of a 32-bar section, and think, what to do now? I love the way that you are constantly referencing sort of usually one, maybe two melodies in the track. I also immediately noticed that the first time I heard your remix of Armin van Buuren's Let the Music Guide You, which we're going to be looking at in a lot more detail in the class. On that melody continuation note, so let's see, we have so arguably your main melody in the breaks.
Yep.
This kind of trance arrangements is all about the breakdown.
Yeah, all about the breakdown and build up. Yeah.
Yeah, and you also managed to fit a lot of music into just over 5 minutes.
Yeah, I want things happen kind of fast in a way, should be kind of dynamic, considering that you have this long break with the trance melody, and I wanted to make kind of a two build-ups or two main ideas on the whole track, and it's basically no intro. It's just DJ. Mostly trance and tech trance tracks tends to have this intro like with kick and drums like old style. That's why this is like extended mix. We also have the radio mix released, which is even shorter.
Right.
And it's just one whole message in one time. I don't hold much. I don't cook much. It's just showing elements, having a build up, showing the theme, a big moment, the drop, and then another outro as the second drop, and then the part for DJ mix again.
All guns blazing, all the time. Not like a slow, subtle work. It's just I feel like it's just 10 out of 10 from the
beginning to the end. Yeah.
Let's check out how you reference that melody. So already we've got some harmonies coming in there.
Yeah, exactly. This is the kind of the same melody, but in another kind of sound also.
Yeah.
And the funny fact is that in the break, in the original track, there's a very big trance lead. And I asked a friend of mine, Giuseppe Ottaviani, he makes trance, for me, one of my favorite trance producers. I asked him some advice for the track because, it's a big track, it's a big name, you want to get the best out of it. And he said to remove the whole, I had the trance melody and everything. He just said, remove the trance break and just repeat that one melody, which is also from the original.
Right.
So, and then this one melody is the only melody from the whole track, this one in the break, So this one I also make another sound. And after also I would come up again the same melody here.
Yeah. Especially like the way that you're, again, referencing that melody first with a harmony. And then you're switching into a totally different instrument, this kind of ethereal, sort of almost flute-like sound. So again, you've got a simple. How do you make something which is complex and interesting but from one simple melody?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I think when people think Waio, one of the first things they probably think of is super glitchy fills, but rhythmic. And I know that you've got a few philosophies about keeping the momentum going. For instance, in the Smack remix, I noticed that you, even when you're at your glitchiest, you really keep that rhythm going and you keep the flow. At no point does it ever feel like it stops. It feels like you can just kind of continue to swim through the whole track.
Yeah. Well, in a drum fill or in a synth fill, it's very important that you, well, at least myself, I always try to have, I tend to look for that feeling of continuation, something that, you kind of break, expand, open, and destroy, but you kind of put together after,
So I love that visual of a machine which kind of explodes and disassembles just for a moment before it sort of snaps.
Yeah, exactly. I really like this theory also. This is, like I said, when I make tracks, everyone have their philosophy. When I create this 3D environment, so I tend to get I want to get the element and stretch and then compress and and then back together and continue.
And then disassemble.
Yeah, exactly.
Just for one moment.
Yeah.
And it's just so danceable because you just never stop that flow. Let's check out some of the fills in your remix of Simon Patterson's Smack. The flow never stops.
Yeah. Also the size of the breaks which you use, if it's 4-bar breaks, 4 kicks, 1-bar break, or if you use half bar, if it's just like 1 kick, or everything has a meaning somehow, and as you can see in the other break, when the synth comes, the comb filter comes, it kind of announces that what was coming next,
Right.
It makes all these glitches, but it has a purr, just to announce that this will come, and then you can go wild,
With that. Let's take one more listen to that. So this is the synth that's coming in the next section.
Yeah, exactly.
Sometimes you like to confuse things a little bit and add a little bit of unpredictability by extending it like an extra bar, or even in the Let Music Guide You, I think I heard you even extend it like one
in the
kick
beginning.
Over?
I kind of hold the kick. Instead of kick, I just hold the kick, and then mute everything, and
It feels like the fill is spilling over a little extra bit, and it just gives it so slightly unpredictable. I also really noticed that in, especially this thing of like adding an extra bar in your Smoke Some Om track that you did with Go With Jones. Let's take a quick listen to that. Do you ever see some unpredictable dance moves on the dance floor?
Yeah, I have seen Australia one time. It was pretty funny. Exactly. The guy go and then it's like, it was pretty funny. I'll never forget that.
Get people tumbling over themselves.
Yeah, it was pretty funny. But if you follow, the whole track, you can see that builds. You don't feel like that you come there. You feel that there will be another section, And that's what I look for always, I don't want to somehow confuse, but not so obvious, that I will put a snare drum or something before, and I will kind of blend and just kind of make these two this one or two bars sound like as if it's one, you know. For example, we have two bars, I would not make one fill and then another fill, you know. I would make these two bars sounds as one fill. You know? So in order to then be kind of connected in a way, you know.
Sure.
Otherwise, it's like sounds just like a two drum fills, you know,
Right,
two synth
right.
fills. Yeah.
Kind of playing with people's expectations a little bit. To me, this is classic Waio. This track is classic Waio in a way because I think of it as a sort of, in my head, I call this like sort of energy 5 to 10. You get a lot of power from your drops by keeping the power quite restrained. It's not like sort of going 6, energy 7, 8, 9, 10. It's kind of going for sort of 2, 3, 4, 5, and then shooting up to
10, yeah.
Up to 10.
Because then it's also, it has more impact, you know. If you hold, especially as we're gonna show in the studio, you know, we hold a little bit the low end and the volume, you know. So like this, when the kick and everything comes in, even if it's just kick and bass, you know, it has more impact.
Yeah.
Than if you create a very loud build up, you know, that is, and when comes the kick and bass, it doesn't have impact because you create that momentum for everything, and then it comes with a very tiny sound, you know.
Let's take a listen to one of those moments which really sort of typifies that for me.
Crazy fucking acid party, acid party, acid party, acid party, acid party, acid party, acid party.
The kick and bass drop also is kind of a joke, you know. I'm doing a drop since many years, exactly this, and it kind of become a trend. Not only me and many other artists start to do this, you know, and it's kind of funny because everyone loves it. People scream and they like it, and you know, when I started to make music, it was the opposite. You know, you make a build up and then you build up for that momentum, for that synth, for all the drums, you know, And I remember in 2007 and 8 that, you know, I started to do the opposite because I heard tracks from other people and I got inspired, and I always like that moment that it gets dry and I was like, wow, that's awesome.
The dry drop.
Yeah, because I remember from tracks, for instance, from Infected Mushroom, you have that massive lead coming, completely the opposite because they make a build-up, comes the melody, very loud, very, you know, euphoric, and then suddenly kick and bass. Tupa, tupa, tupa. This was like for me the best moment from the track, you know. And the way I did it was just making a build up and building for that momentum, you know. And I have seen also on electro house in that time, 2007, 8. I remember I heard a track from Dirty Loud, a Brazilian duo, was a track that had this kind of many basses and a build up, and then comes only kick and bass and all these different basses, you know, like one saw and then one square and then another blend. And I was like, okay, that's awesome. And it was like 130 BPM or so. And I got inspired from it, you know. So I started to do the same kind of thing, but in 145 BPM, you know.
Yeah.
And I made tracks like You Know the Sound, and I mean, as a remix. But I wrote music with Irad, with Switch. Today he makes different kind of music. But with this kind of...
Anticlimax, maybe?
Yeah, anticlimax, you know, kind of, you know. It's funny because when I play Indonesia, people like, oh, you are the anti-drop. And I was like, what do you mean? It's like, oh, because you build up for something and then comes only kick and bass.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, but it's just different. Why should I always give, you know, like, it comes with the whole thing. Sometimes we reset and come up again, you know. It works in some places, you know, like Brazil, people love it. Yeah. But in Indonesia, you know, or other places, they don't like that, you know. Also, DJs know that when you play in Asia countries, they like more energetic music. They want something, you know, that non-stop. So some of them don't understand this kind of a drop that we call, you know?
Yeah, I think it just brings so much character and personality to the music, and it's a little bit of a wink and a nudge from the track, which says, you know, I know you wanted it, but I'm gonna give it to you. But usually, especially in like a lot of your tracks, okay, you do that sort of, you know, you put the track on its head, you come in with a dry drop, but like I feel this is the important thing with tension is that when you break the promise like that, when you promise the crowd so much energy, and then you break the promise and you come in dry, then they're still expecting it, right? So you can't like be like, anyway, forget about that big build-up, right? They really want the money now.
Yeah.
You know, they want it even more. So you know, I often see that you'll quickly will start delivering after that.
Yeah, you kind of put the sweets and the plate, and then you just take the plate. Not like this way, but...
That is what a live DJ set should be, is constantly giving people the food and sometimes not allowing them, kind of dangling the carrot.
And then you can hold it, you know. That's why I like to produce, because when you DJ, you can just select tracks, which is kind of ready. But when you actually produce music, you do your music on purpose like this, you know. In this time, I want people to sit down a little bit, to relax. So you keep a pad, you keep everything very calm. So then you build for something. Or if you don't want that, if you want to just keep going again, you start again kick and bass. It starts again. If you don't want to build up. Or you build up for something, you know? So there's many ways to arrange a track, you know? So that's the game behind writing a track, right? So you want to tell a story with different sounds and give them kind of a fantasy feeling of kind of a feeling of where you are, or you are maybe in the forest, you are maybe in the desert, you are maybe, you know. So that's what the music's powerful, you know, for me.
Do you try to get into a visual place when you're?
Yeah, I try to create an environment, and in the middle there is this 3D object. And everything, every element in the track, the kick and bass, it kind of blend together. And as the kick kicks in, everything pulsates, you know, and the bass also, you know, like everything, all the elements is like parts of this, you know, you can zoom this object and you can see like little things and little tiny micro techs and robots just, you know, making, that's where lives the creativity.
I noticed something else that you do a lot, which I really like, is the way that you sort of your attention to atmosphere and melody, and I guess sort of you could say sort of soft versus hard. I thought Cyberspace, which is a track we'll be going to in more detail later in the class, but I really like the way that in the sort of intro sections where we first meet the kick and bass, it starts quite ethereal, quite atmospheric, and that carries on. When the drums start coming in, it's like you get all those atmospheres out and it becomes almost quite dry.
Exactly.
And those drops, it really makes them sort of hard. And then I find the atmospheres, the pads start fading in, and then the next 16 bars, boom, we remove all atmospheres again.
Well, the atmosphere tends to give the feeling of more like a soft sound, you know, like a little bit more dreamy, a bit more atmospheric. So when it comes to the drums and the stab, I want to like, okay, we started, you know? So that's why I want to create tension. And therefore, I stop with the soft elements, everything what is too dreamy and soft. So I use mostly synths and stabby, something more that reacts a little bit more with the groove, and also it's more imponent, you know, than just a pad with a long reverb or a long delay, you know?
Sure.
So I want you to create tension in that moment, you know, like, okay, we start here, you know?
Yeah, it gives a real feeling of intention.
Yeah.
Let's take a listen to the first sort of couple minutes of Cyberspace, and I want you guys to hear the use of atmospheres and how they come and how they go. already there. I just felt
Yeah.
like all the atmosphere is gone in an instant,
exactly.
like in a vacuum.
Yeah. In the moment that I start to have the stabs and the synths, I stop with the dreamy sounds, see, with these arpeggios and the pads. Also, those pads and some of the dreamy sounds are pieces of that melody with a reverb and delay. So that's why we will start to make sense. You just show a little piece flying around of that synth, another one with delay flying around,
I feel like when you hear those drops, things get a lot more serious. But then again, so listen around bar 57, bar 73, you're gonna hear those pads kind of fluttering back in. But then 65, 81, again, just completely sort of dry and hard.
Yeah.
And then, so let's take a listen to that. And then we're going to look at the way that lead sort of morphs into future melodic versions of itself in a little bit more detail later on. But these are the kinds of things that I think we can learn so much by listening deeper and picking these little patterns out.